Welcome to the August 2015 edition of Financial Empowerment, a production of the California Society of CPAs and Cal CPA Institute. I'm Bill Spaniel. Buying your first car. Who doesn't remember that event? Did your parents help you out? And if you are a parent with a teenager in the house, have you and your son or daughter discussed buying their first car? Both of you might want to listen to the advice of Larry Pon, a Redwood City CPA and personal financial specialist. We spoke with Larry over Skype about what teens should consider when they are ready to purchase their first car. Hello, Larry. Welcome to Financial Empowerment.
Hi, Bill.
Larry, I wanted to talk to you about teens and automobiles. Usually the first major purchase a young person makes, obviously, would be a car, or their parent purchases a car for their behalf, and it's always one of the rites of passage for American teenagers. I'm sure that all of us can remember when that happened for each of us. So when a teen goes about, or a parent goes about purchasing a car for a teenager, is it new or used? Which would you advise?
Well, there's advantages and disadvantages of a new car and a used car. So let's talk about the quick advantages of a new car. With a new car, the biggest advantage is freedom of choice. You can pick whatever color you want, whatever features you want, and you might even get better financing with the latest, greatest things that come with it. The disadvantage of a brand new car, of course, is cost and depreciation. A car loses about 11% of its value when it rolls off the dealer's parking lot. And also the insurance costs could be higher.
Mm-hmm.
So conversely, with a used car, obviously they're less expensive. The insurance rates tend to be better on them. And since depreciation has already happened, there's very little depreciation on them by the time you get it. But, there's some disadvantage of a used car also. It could be maintenance costs, what's the history of the car, and how well did the previous owner take care of the car. So we have to take a look at the pros and cons to see which makes sense for the teen when they're looking at buying a car.
Right. So where should a teenager or parent go to buy that car? Should it be at a dealership, a used car lot, CarMax, off the street, so forth? What do you advise?
Yeah, each one of those have their advantages and disadvantages. And so most importantly is that you need to do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to do your homework to figure out which is the appropriate car for you. Do I want a four-door car? Do I want a pickup truck? What kind of features are important to me on the car? So number one, I think it's important to find out what kind of car you're looking for, which car, and focus on the appropriate features for that car. Now, in terms of where to buy the car, if you go to a lot, a car dealership, the advantage there is they're in business. They kind of want to stay in business, so they might want to treat you right, and the car might come with a warranty. Versus buying a car directly from a buyer, the warranty might have expired by then, and there's no guarantees. So no matter what used car you're buying, I still recommend taking it to a reputable mechanic to check the car, put it up on the rack, look underneath it, and just to see how does it look mechanically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you covered the features. How about the financing of the car? Where should it be? Just cash, credit, what? Go to a bank, credit union?
Right, and that's a good question. Not every teenager has a lot of money to pay cash for a car. So they have to look at the different financing options. They can look at, can they lease a car or can they finance a car? And when you're looking at financing, you have to take a look at the length of the loan, because if you notice, a 7-year loan is going to have a higher interest rate than a 5-year loan, although the payment will be lower because you're stretching it over 7 years. So that's something you need to be careful about. But in terms of where to get the loans, generally a car dealership will be the worst place to get a car loan because they're kind of expensive. They're also very convenient though.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely you should take a look at your local credit union to see what the loan rates are and see what kind of options they have.
Okay. One of the traumatic experiences, I think, for many people is trying to negotiate a deal, especially with the dealership. Mm-hmm. Do you have any tips on how to negotiate?
Yes. I think the most important thing you need to do is to do your homework. And there's a lot of good reputable sources you can do your homework at. Consumer Reports is an excellent publication. Their website is consumerreports.org. Kelley Blue Book is very helpful. That's kvb.org. Edmunds.com has a wealth of information. So the more you understand about the car, the better you can negotiate. So at least you know what the prices are, what the ballparks are, and that if the price seems too low, that will alert you there might be something wrong with the car, or if you're trying to get ripped, or if you're being ripped off. So I think the most important thing is to do your homework to understand what the right price would be.
So in other words, know what the going rate on that vehicle is before you start negotiating.
Right. And don't be swayed by the car dealer who's trying to sell you a car based on the monthly payment. Because even though you can buy a car for $200 a month, but for how many months? So you have to be really cognizant of that.
One of the major expenses for the owner of a car is automobile insurance, and it's especially higher for teenagers. So do you have any tips to help lower that cost?
Yeah, insurance companies offer all kinds of discounts. They offer a good grade discount. So if your GPA is above a certain amount, depending on which insurance company, they'll actually give you a discount for your insurance. So that's good to know. So that's helpful, because I guess insurance companies think kids with high GPAs tend to be safer drivers. So that's one thing that's important to look at. Also, again, part of the research on the car is what's the insurance on that car, because certain cars get stolen a lot. So they would have a higher insurance rate. Some cars seem to get into accidents a lot, or their brakes always seem to fail, or something like that. So they would have higher insurance rates. So it's actually your insurance agent might be a good person to chat with to see what cars do you like. Which cars are better to insure.
So it might be a good idea to talk to your insurance agent prior to going out and buying that car.
Right, because you can be shocked by what the insurance is going to be after you get the car, and by then it'll be too late. So it's always good to ask him. Also, I learned another person to ask about a car is a tow truck driver. Because you can ask them that, what kind of cars do you tow a lot? And they'll tell you what cars they see a lot of. And they'll give you a clue of maybe those cars you should stay away from.
By the way, how do we know that the car that one purchases, especially obviously a used car, is actually can run and last a while? How do you figure that out?
Well, let's talk about the test drive. The test drive is an integral part of buying a car. And you'd be surprised how many people buy cars while they're even driving them. So it sounds obvious to you and me, but that's a very important step, is to have a test drive. And there's some important things to do while you're doing the test drive. Number one is make sure the car salesman is quiet, because he might be talking during the whole time where you can't hear the sounds of the car, or certain strange noises or whatever. So it's always nice to have a trusted person with you, your parent, a older relative, or a friend, to ride along with you in that test drive. Drive over some bumps, see what happens, get on the freeway, see if the car can get on the freeway, test the brakes and see how it feels, step on the gas pedal, turn the steering wheel, do all those kind of things. It's very important to get the feel of the car. If it doesn't feel comfortable, it might not be the right car for you.
Now, how do we know that the car hasn't been involved in an accident or even flood? Because some cars come on the market after a flood, and obviously they're parts that are damaged because of that. But people are trying to sell them and get rid of them.
Right, exactly, and that's been in the news. Cars that were in flood zones or whatever, and they end up everywhere in the United States. And so that's why it's important to nitpick the car when you get it. During the test drive, after the test drive, pop open the hood, take a look in the hood. You might not understand all the parts that's inside the hood. I don't either. But you can take a look at it. Is it clean? Is there rust there? Does it seem to be missing parts? Open the trunk. Always make sure you lift the there's always a liner in the trunk. You lift that to see if there's any rust stains. Look behind the seats. Look underneath the seats. Try to look underneath the car. But generally, a mechanic will do a better job with that than you and I can, just by looking under the car, because they'll get on the rack and they can see if there's any damage there. So a mechanic inspection is really important.
Okay. Any other tips you have?
In terms of buying a car, I think one tip that's important is be prepared to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to buy that car. If you're getting pressured by the salesman or you're getting pressured by the owner for you to buy that car, they're too eager to get it off their hands, just be prepared to walk away. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They get guilted into buying a car sometimes. So that's important. Number two is understand the cost of financing. Understand the total cost of the car. That includes gas. How much is the gas going to cost me? How much is insurance going to cost me? Does it have special tires? Some of those special tires are very expensive and they don't last very long. So you want to make sure that this car is going to fit within your budget. And you got to plan carefully. So, and the mechanic can be very important. Also, knowing the mileage on the car too, because you have to understand the vehicle. Look at the owner's manual. There's certain maintenance points a car goes through, and so that could be some expenses. A car might need an expensive tune-up. It might use new spark plugs, or having to change the transmission fluid and all that. That could get expensive. Mm-hmm. So, knowing that up front is very important.
Our thanks to Larry Pon for his insights on teens and car purchasing. We hope they'll help you and your teen with this important milestone. We appreciate your listening to Cal CPA's Financial Empowerment Program, which was produced in August 2015. If you would like to comment about our show, have a question for a CPA, or would like to suggest topics for future programs, write us at financialempowerment@calcpa.org, or simply visit www.calcpa.org. You can search there for a California CPA who can help you save on taxes, better manage your investments, or budget for those rainy days even sunny California sometimes has. Just click on the Find a CPA link. This is Bill Spaniel, and you've been listening to edition 177 of Financial Empowerment, a production of the California Society of CPAs and Cal CPA Institute.